Welcome to Sticky Bee's Sticky Tip Tuesday. When a business crisis erupts, do you deliver a pitch, a propaganda, or a promise? And this is something that we all need to consider, no matter the shape or size of our business. So stick with me for these tips that really got their true colors this week. And I want to talk about the Rogers disruption of services. And it actually had a huge impact on 12 million customers. So I'm Darcy from Sticky Bee, and it's the place to be because we make it super simple for you to brand you and connect with your ideal audience. And in a crisis, connecting with your ideal audience is absolutely critical. So for those of you who are in the United States, this is a bit of a Canadian story in that last Friday, in the wee hours of the morning, one of our only 3 telco companies in Canada had a disruption of services. So the implications of that were that things literally stopped for 12 million customers. So for those 12 million customers, cellular and internet service providers had no business. The banking and payment processing had no business. Emergency services, so when folks tried to call 911, they couldn't get through. And in fact, it has been one reported death because of that. Transportation and transit services ground to a halt if you were trying to play electronically. Schools and libraries, retail and entertainment. The weekend's concert was canceled. And the Calgary Stampede said to all its customers, make sure you got a pocket full of cash if you're coming to the Calgary Stampede. So this was a huge crisis, essentially. It happened, as I say, in the wee hours of Friday morning. And today we're now on Tuesday, and most of the Rogers customers are back in service, but not all of them. So let's take a look at how, and I know this is a big corporation's problem, but this problem can happen to you, or a crisis can happen to you in your small business. So, do you promise? Do you fill it full of propaganda? Do you make a profit from it? Do you make a pitch? Exactly what's your approach going to be? And as they say, this is called crisis management. So, how are you going to deal with the crisis if it comes to you or for you? So, one of the big things you've got to remember in a crisis is you got to talk to your customers. You got to tell them what's going on. So, Rogers didn't do that. They just said, sorry, your service is out. We're working on it, coming to a solution as fast as we can. But they didn't say what happened. They didn't say why the service was out. So, this customer communication is absolutely critical in a time of crisis. And here's why. If you don't talk to your customers, you don't control the narrative. So in other words, there was a lot of stories flying around. Why is Rogers one of the only 3 telecommunication companies in Canada? Why is it dark? What's happened? And it really set everybody wondering. And so when you are not quick to the megaphone or the microphone, when you're not quick to the explanation of what's going on, if you're not nimble, the propaganda steps in. And that little devil starts to talk. And sometimes it's between customers. Sometimes it's your competition. Just kind of floating some ideas of what could have possibly happened. And here's some things that got floated. Well, they've been hacked. They're being held for ransomware. There's a crippling core system shutdown. So the first slide I showed, that 12 million customers of Rogers in the telecommunications business, which is government, which is banking, which is people's lives, which is 911, if they're being held from ransomware, that's a big deal. How do I know that my information is secure and private? And if it's a crippling core system shutdown, what's going to happen tomorrow? What do I have to do for my business to keep happening, to keep making money? And there's a lot of yeah buts and what ifs. And this is a huge mistake that Rogers made, was they didn't talk to their audience. Now, this I find kind of interesting, that when something like this happens, you can bet that there's a lot of people, a lot of competition, saying, well, I think I'm going to step in. So I found this particularly interesting in that, as I mentioned, this happened I'm on the Pacific coast, so it happened about kind of 1:30ish in the morning. And not even 12 hours later, here's what Rogers Competition set out and said, well, our mobile network won't leave you hanging. Switch to our award-winning network with this offer. Now, they made a pitch, and I got, and I am a TELUS customer, so I was not affected by the Rogers outage. But I was absolutely blown away by how quickly, from a marketing perspective, that the competition stepped in. And then here is the offer. They said, well, we've got a great savings of $240 with the TELUS Unlimited plan. Sign up right now and enjoy 10 months in bill credits for a 2-year contract. So in essence, they're saying, I don't care if you've got a contract with Rogers, I don't care, but come join us. Now, I also think, some little hiccups in this proposition, in that I really, really wonder about this promise. Is it really something they can stand by? Because our mobile network won't leave you hanging. How do you know that for sure? Like, when big business or any business makes a promise like this, you can get egg on your face really, really quickly. Because although this was a Rogers problem, and heavens only knows what kind of problem it was because they're really not telling us, it could have, quite frankly, happened to any of our big telcos. So I think it's kind of interesting when we take a look at how this all comes together. Now let me just shut a couple of things down here. So here's where we sit in Canada, and I'm sure that our American friends down south would find this absolutely unbelievable. But really, a country the size of Canada has only 3 major telecommunication companies that we can join. And that is Rogers Communication, Bell, or TELUS. And Rogers, interestingly enough, is trying to buy up another smaller company on the West Coast called Shaw. And it is right now in the throes of trying to get through the, there's no problem with monopoly here, and really there's still lots of competition in the marketplace, so they say. And when we take a look at this, and this is any of us, no matter if you are internet savvy or not, here's how our life runs on telecommunications. It's about our 911 service. It's about our banking. It's about our business. It's about how we pay our bills. It's about our internet connection. It's about our movie watching. It's about TV. It is our whole life is in the digital world. And when that digital world goes dark, lots of things happen, as clearly realized by the 12 million customers who were in the dark, certainly for a couple of days, and some people are still now Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 5 days later, they are still in the dark. Now, here's something to also consider, is that Canada's telecom giants rank among the most expensive in the world. So not only do we not have a lot of competition, or do they not have a lot of competition, we don't have a lot of choice about who we are going to get connected with. It's the most expensive telecommunications in the world. Not a really nice kind of proposition to be part of. So this really, really begs the question, have you got a plan B? And by that I mean, what happens when you, as a little retail store, as a little coffee shop, can't process your sales? Have you got some kind of system in place that could work on an honor system, that could take people's names and get them to come back? Somehow, can you still conduct business without your digital assets, without your digital connection? Could The Weeknd have done something about his concert at Rogers Arena, I think it was, in Toronto? Could they still have put that concert on without a digital connection? I mean, this begs a lot of questions. We're so heavily committed to conducting our business in a digital space, we have almost forgotten how not to be part of that digital space. So I said here, what's your plan B? And have you created a crisis plan? And I think we all, no matter the size of our business, need to really look at what we can do, and do we have a plan in place that when we're hit with the crisis, how do we continue to conduct business? How do we, get over ourselves, get over the crisis, and jump into the chaos with a system, with a plan? And one of those things you need to do is plan for the worst case scenario. What if your building burnt down tomorrow? What would you do? And how do you go on? How do you continue on? And I think the other thing is, I made this post in a group that I'm in, and because I was blown away by how quickly TELUS, Rogers' competition, jumped in to the marketing, into the promotion of this, and created a new offer, an irresistible offer. If you're that choked and unhappy and quite frankly pissed off at the telecommunications company that you're with, you're going to look for an alternative. Do you have a quick promo plan that you can pull out of your back pocket and say, hey, have you considered this? And this was a question that I asked in this group that I'm in. No one caught that this was a bit of a marketing coup for the competition. And yet, as I say, the competition, it could have happened to them. I mean, that's the whole idea about this, is these kinds of hiccups can happen to anybody. But can you take advantage of them without being an ambulance chaser? And I think one of the most critical things you need to do in business, and no matter what business you're in, is you need to stay on top of current events. You need to know what's happening in the world around you so that, one, you're prepared, and two, you could perhaps act on it in a split second by offering some kind of promotion that can help solve your customers' problems. But first and foremost, and always, 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 the most important thing that you can do is customer communication, so that you control the narrative, so that the stories and story that comes out is one of your making, not your competition's, not your customers wondering, not the people that are trying to scam the notion. And I think also, too, the other thing that Rogers has said very quickly in all of this is we're going to compensate our customers who've been affected by this. So we know that there's 12 million customers who are affected by this. And the rumor right now is that they're going to pay each customer $5 a day for the amount of time that they were inconvenienced by the telecom shutdown. Now, $5 a day is like a friggin' insult. So you've got to also think about how you're going to try and resolve the business hiccup and the impact that it had on your customers. And by paying them $5 a day to not have emergency services, or to not be able to make any money, or to not conduct business, or to not even be able to get a phone call, to not communicate with their family, the list goes on. $5 a day is an insult, and I think it's going to be a huge part of this fiasco of Rogers is going to even be bigger. So, lots to think about, but most importantly, think differently. There's a problem. Have you got a solution? And connect with your audience. Talk to them and let them know what's going on. People want to know what's happening. And in today's day and age, it does fly pretty fast. So if you're not on top of things and you don't control the narrative, you don't communicate with your customer, and you don't try and make a resolution of considerations for them that's appropriate with the problem, you've really damaged your own business. So where it stands right now, we don't know if it was a hack. So presumably, they say no, they were doing some upgrading changes, and they had a little snafu in the process. So this little snafu affected 12 million people, and it is enough to give every Canadian pause about how are we going to be competitive in this digital age when one of our few telecommunication companies stumble. So here's some stuff to think about, and I urge you to make your chaos plan. And stay connected with your customers. So that's all my sticky tip for the day today. Stick with me on Thursday. I got a Sticky Thought Thursday, and we're going to talk more about connecting with your audience. I have a little case study I want to share with you that I think you're going to find kind of interesting. Bye for now. I'm Darcy from Sticky Bee, and it's the place to be because I help you make it super simple to brand you and connect with your ideal audience. Bye for now. And here's to good internet connections.